Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Uniquely Unqualified Podcast, episode 18. Today is Friday, May 15th, 2026. I would like to jog everybody's memory and make sure you are all reminded about the war going on in Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine. A little bit on that. First, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Whomever the last subscriber was, good on you. Thank you very much. I do appreciate you. But let's get into this thing real quick. So last week, there was a, what would that be? That would be last week, right? What was yesterday? 14th, 13th? Yeah, so last week, Trump announced a temporary 3-day ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine that ended or expired on the third day. Fighting still continues in that region, and it ended because of mutual accusations of escalations and violations. So anyway, just to make sure that I'm keeping the American public abreast of that, don't forget, that's still going on. So that's not the topic of today. I'm probably going to hit just one topic, and that's going to be Trump's visit to China. So what do we speculate on? Last time we talked about this, when he left, we speculated that he was going to talk about economy, largely. We said that he would probably get something going in a conversation about Iran. I made mention that I think that the only player between the U.S., Israel, Iran, Russia, and China that could do any good with that would be China. Anyway, so let's just kind of jump into everything that he did, and I apologize. I'm going to be referencing my notes a bit. Anyway, so Trump goes and visits Xi in China, and the news, all the news was just a fucking buzz about this. And at the end of this little segment, I'm gonna scold Fox News. I don't need to scold CNN and MS Now and CBS because they just do such a piss poor job. Anyway, it's like their views, their ratings are in the tank. Nobody watches them, and by nobody, I'm sure you could collect a couple million people, but I think like Fox News has more subscribers on their YouTube channel than any of the other news outlets have, like, viewership on regular TV. And I think I hate Whoopi Goldberg actually too. Just throwing it out there. Anyway, so what do we got here? So trade and purchases. That was one of the subjects that they spoke about, and it seems that that this was awfully productive. We'll see. So let's get right into this one here, I suppose. Donald Trump and Xi Jinping verbal handshake agreement. And of course, we already heard, this morning, yesterday, that, Xi is a known liar. Xi Jinping lies all the time. Lie. You know what? I think the Americans are just such cunts that we fuck it all up sometimes. I don't think it's necessarily the China thing. I mean, it could be. I don't know. I'm not trying to be, sympathetic to these folks, but we should be friends with China. We should be friends with Russia. Anyway, so they say that the Chinese government has agreed to purchase 200 Boeing jets, and then if the product is good, this is hilarious. The Chinese are making purchasing critiques about the quality of product that they receive from the United States of America. Have you motherfuckers ever heard of Temu? Anyway, so 200 Boeing jets, and if the product is good, it could possibly be up to 750 units of these 200 Boeing jets. Okay, I guess, you want the American economy to be strong. If our GDP, if our output is strong and great, that's why China, China doesn't have a big time purchasing economy. They have a selling economy. And so when a country's GDP is high, the people do well. And GDP is gross domestic product, which basically means shit you're selling to other people. And so if we can sell our American airplanes to China, then that's actually good. That doesn't line anybody's, yes, it makes Boeing a lot of money. It creates jobs, it lifts that section of the economy, stock market does good, blah, 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 right? The more a product for a company goes up, it's like televisions, right? A new TV comes out and it's, $1,000. Wait a year, it's $250, basically. So the same thing would kind of be with Boeing. The more jets it sells overall, the cheaper, not the cheaper in the product, just the cheaper the product is. The more available that product is, making it easier for the consumer. And so if Boeing can sling airplanes all around the world, then their profits, they have high profits, they can sell their planes at a lower rate. The airlines that you buy your tickets from don't have to be so high because they don't have quite the overhead purchasing the plane. And so, there's a dozen things that you can say good about this whole Boeing thing. So good, let's see if that happens. Oil, liquid natural gas, and soybeans. So obviously, this whole thing in Iran is it's a few things. First and foremost, it's a giant clusterfuck, potential failure. But another thing that it was an absolute tool. And I was thinking about this. I had mentioned on a previous episode that Donald Trump is either completely ridiculous and incompetent, or he's the world's biggest fucking genius, because if he can choke off the oil supply from Iran and collect that oil, boom, that's a win for the U.S. Then the United Nations, the countries that are not the United Nations, NATO, the countries that are a part of this membership group called NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, they say, no, we're not going to help. Meanwhile, they haven't paid their fucking dues into the organization known as NATO, and the U.S. has. And then they say, and then these other countries say, well, we're not going to help. And then Trump can say, okay, well, now I've got the oil thing going with Iran, and the other countries that are in NATO aren't willing to help. So now I've got oil, and that gives me a reason to pull out of NATO, as he said in his first term as president. But then the other thing that this whole thing in Iran has done has pushed a big reason why this meeting happened. One, it was scheduled, and then they canceled it, and then it was rescheduled. But because of what's going on in Iran, he goes to China, Trump does, and he starts talking about oil. It's like, well, now you can't get that 40% of your oil. It doesn't matter who fucked it up or that I fucked it up. You just can't get it from there, and you need it. So I'll sell it to you. We got plenty. And so now they're going to go get their oil and liquid natural gas from the Gulf of Mexico and Alaska. And good. That's, we need to be drilling for oil. We need to be selling oil. When I was in college, so here's the thing about going to college, right? Any kind of school. It's not the fact that you're learning, right? It's the fact that you're learning how to learn. That's what you're doing there. And you're learning how to research. they just give you shit to look up. Anybody ever been to college? Especially because I started out like community college and then I went on from there. But if you're in community college, they will, some professors, throughout all the college experience, some professors do this, some don't. Some are really hard line on your page limits, and some, if you go to them and be like, hey, I need more pages to contribute to this project, and they if you do a good job in their class, they'll give it to you. If you don't, they say no, keep it to 20 pages or 30 pages or whatever your project's supposed to be. So when I was in just doing like community college stuff, what would that be? Your first 2 years, your prereqs and your like associates degree. I was learning all this cool shit, and I really loved a professor that I had. By the way, he subscribes to this channel. Shout out to Professor Sam Castonway. Loved him. Still have a line of communication to him to this day. And I graduated maybe 10 years ago. So what at the time we were learning was that, oil reserves around the globe were being kind of like depleted. There wasn't a bunch of surveying that had happened, but based on what we knew of the oil that we were tapping at that time, we were looking at something of, maybe 40 to 60 years of crude oil in the ground left. Well, now it's been 10 years and other surveys have been, now that was probably certainly true at that time. But now what it seems to be known is that oil just fucking pumps. Oil just pumps. It is like coal. What is coal? Coal is basically, you find coal in spots where like oceans and wetlands, had big marshes and swamps once upon a time. And what do swamps have? Trees. What do trees have? Leaves. What do leaves do? They fall. And so in those swampy areas, those leaves would fall to the bottom of they'd land on the water, get full of water, and they'd sink to the bottom. And you've all been there. We've all been to a yucky pond where it's like you step on it, and then all that gunk, right? All that dirt and sediment just goes poof, and you can see it around your foot. Well, when that water recedes, and this is over the course of millions of years, of course, when that water recedes and that product dry and that shit that you're stepping on dries and gets covered over the time, span of millions of years, that creates coal, and then you can go in and mine that. And so, then they called it fossil fuels with oil. And it's not that it's dinosaur bones, more so that it's like ancient plankton. But now we know that there's more oil in the ground than we thought there was just 10 years ago. And so my point behind the whole going to college thing is it's not that what you learned in college is true. It was true then, and there are still some things that are true today that were then, but the point of college is learning how to learn. If you just settled on that one fucking thing where, oh my God, we're going, that's 40 to 60 more years of oil left, and just ran with that, you would just blow past all of the other evidence and I guess proof now that there's just more oil in the ground than we thought. There just is. So you're learning how to learn. And so when you go to like a place like, fucking Canada, where that Mark Carney fool basically stopping all oil drilling up there, which is psychotic. Because Canada has one of the largest oil deposits on the planet. I think it's like in Alberta. Correct me on that one. But anyway, the point is that, Trump goes and says, drill, baby, drill. Well, he's choked off Iran. He could pull us out of NATO. China needs that oil. They need it. So where are they going to get it? Now they're agreeing to get it from us. Oil, liquid natural gas, and soybeans. That's a weird one. Why the fuck does an Asian place need to buy soybeans? Isn't that where they kind of came from in the first place? Man, that would blow my mind. That would ruin my fucking day if somebody told me, no, soybeans originated in the Americas and then they were traded over to and then they became and then before you know it, they called them edamame and now you have it at the sushi restaurant. That would suck. You'd think there'd be more soybeans to buy in that area, but we're gonna sell them oil, liquid natural gas, and soybeans. Good. Here's another one. Possible board of trade. So basically setting up a board of humans between, assumably America, the United States of America, and People's Republic of China to make sure that we can be economic friends so that we don't turn into any kind of militant issues and military issues and stuff, because there was also something that she said to Trump about military actions and of the like. So, I don't like boards. I don't like this one. I don't understand why people just can't be fucking square. Not square like L7 weenie, or square like my mother-in-law. I mean, like, why can't you just, when you say what you're gonna do your damnedest to execute precisely what you said you were gonna do? And if you need to alter something or change something, then just communicate. If you need a contract, have the contract, uphold the contract, read every fucking word in the contract. But why do we need a board? Because by the time what's a board gonna do? Well, I mean, the worst case scenario is, the Great China American Economic Board goes public. I'm just joking. But I mean, you could literally turn that thing into a money laundering, fraud, fucking bullshit too. Any time a group of very powerful men come together, one, you're gonna pay them, okay? Because they're not gonna not be paid. And I think that's probably why Trump brought along that fucking entourage of like 30 CEOs or something like that? And what a fucking move that is, right? That's some ambitious, that's some forward thinking. That's thinking like, I'm here to play nice and here's all my friends I brought with me. We want to play too. And then, it turns out that these friends are dickheads and they don't play nice on the court. That could fucking happen. So yeah, I don't think I like the board idea. I don't think it's necessary. I just don't get it. It's like board of trade. You get us out of NATO, and then you jump us right back into something that in 20, 30 years is going to be a fucking laughing stock anyway, too. NATO, the UN, all of those things, there was something back in the early 1900s called the League of Nations, which is the UN. Like look this up, folks. Look up what the League of Nations was. Look up what and then look up what the United Nations is, and then compare them side by side. And I bet based on my tone, you kind of get my point to why are you trying to pull us out of NATO and then jumping into a board of trade with China, which then Russia would certainly be a part of that board of trade, I would assume, because they're in the region. And Trump has made it very clear multiple times that he would like to be friends with Russia. Wouldn't it be great if we could be friends with Russia? So I don't like the possible board of trade thing. Those first two things, okie dokie. But the board of trade thing is just, come to some sort of agreement, follow the fucking agreement, sell shit back and forth. Walmart does not have a board of getting hillbillies to come through the door. It's an agreement that the purchaser and the seller have without even having a handshake. The seller says, I've got this gigantic box in the middle of fucking town with 1 million parking spaces, and I've got all of these, albeit meh, products, but at lower prices, and I will make sure that they are at least a penny less than anywhere else, but damn it, they're lower, and I'm telling you they're lower, and I think Walmart can even do price matching. I think I've done that before with Walmart. But the expectation is when the customer walks through that door, they know what they're gonna get. And that's all you need. You just need the relationship. And if that relationship stays honest, then what the fuck do you need a board for? Anyway, I think that's dumb. So what else did they go over? They went over Iran and the Strait of Hormuz, of course, because they did the oil thing, so they had to have gone and spoken about that one. So Donald Trump said, and of course the lefty media took this one and chopped it up and made it sound like a bunch of shit he didn't actually say. These reporters that are going and asking him questions, there's a reason why he's such a dick to them when they ask some of these questions. Sometimes it's unnecessary, but sometimes it's necessary. And, when he gets frustrated and he's saying, I don't care about this, I don't care about that, he's not saying that he doesn't absolutely not care, he doesn't absolutely care about the thing. So he gets trapped up in this fucking, they clipped this thing of him saying, I don't care about gas prices, I don't care about the oil in the Strait of Hormuz, or whatever he says. I don't care about what Americans are paying for gas. I care about doing whatever he's doing with the Strait of Hormuz. And so the lefty media clipped that out and made it sound like Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about you. But that's not true. That's not what happened. There was an entire exchange to the left and the right of that clip. And that's where the lefty media is horribly, horribly failing, because we all know I can go get the truth on X. I can go to a totally different regular news outlet and watch the exact same coverage, where instead of the clip, they just air the whole damn exchange. So that's where these MS Nows and CBS's and all that shit, CNNs, that's why they're failing. That's why they're failing. That's why you are failing, folks. You have horrible, horrible boards and just people fucking that up. And so what Trump was saying was that this reporter was like, in regards to Iran and your trip to China, do you need China's help with Iran? Trump says, no, we don't. We have it under control. And then the reporter gives him a leading question. Certainly he knows, or she knows, that Trump's going to say some wild shit off the cuff. And that reporter got what they wanted when he says, no, when Trump says, no, we got it. And then the reporter says, well, we want to get gas prices down. What about that? What about people's wallets? And then Trump says, not in regards to you, the voter who voted for him, or the economy. He's like, why are you asking that question that way? I don't want China's help with the Strait. I'm not going to bring it up. And inside of that question, there's no room for, maybe there is, I'm just saying, in his mind, this is what he's doing. There's no room for how much money you got in your wallet. There's no room for that, because he's task oriented. He's like single task. Each task is a gear in a bigger machine. That's what he's looking at. And so when he's saying, I don't care about all of it, he doesn't care because regarding the topic of China helping out with the Strait of Hormuz, inside that topic, he's not thinking about the gas prices. He's thinking about getting to China, getting this, like he's playing his own little game in his head where he's trying to come to a resolution and a solution to this whole Iran debacle. And if he were to sit there up all night thinking to himself, oh my God, people in Kentucky are paying $4.50 a gallon, what am I gonna do? He ain't gonna get anywhere. And so when he's sitting there on camera and he says, I don't care about this, and this, he just right then and there doesn't fucking care because that isn't the goal. The goal is the oil in Iran. And if you secure the oil in Iran, that question just very simply goes away because oil prices drop. I think oil prices, though, we're up over $100 a gallon. I think it's now something like $105 a gallon, almost 106 maybe. So down here in Mexico, fuel is fucking expensive. Anyway, so all of that to say, Xi offered him help with Iran. I believe that it is that the president of China extended to the president of the United States of America something of a lifeline out of this. Trump says a lot of shit on camera. 90% of it is to piss you off. That's the purpose of it. 90% of what Trump is saying on camera that everybody gets on Fox News or CBS, that shit is meant to get you spun up, ladies and gentlemen. Spun up. That's what that is. Just salacious shit that's just flying out of his mouth. You know, I've got this weird sense of humor where I'll say something to you just absolutely stone cold in the face. Just I have no expression on my face, and I can say something absolutely absurd, get you back on your heels, and then, you'll go, really? I say, no, man, I'm fucking with you. I think that's funny. And so I would do that too in front of a camera. And I think that, a lot of times when Trump is walking up the stairs to the airplane, he's going, fucking clowns. I would. Anyway, so I think that he's just on there to just get you spun up and misdirect you. And then he gets there, and the president of China said, this isn't me or Fox saying this. This is a couple other sources saying this, that Xi Jinping said that he would help. But you also, I can understand that, Trump would probably say, nah, stay out of it for right now. Because if Xi gets in there and helps, Iran sells China barrels of crude oil at a discounted rate, discounted from the world market. So if China gets in there and helps, and then sneaks the fuck back in there, Trump needs to absolutely secure that whole oil infrastructure over there before any of that can happen. So that even if Xi does go in and help, the United States already has control of that commodity. And so no matter what, the only thing that China's saving on is the gas, is the diesel in the rigs to go to a closer place than to sail across the Pacific to get oil from us. So yeah, Xi reportedly offered him a hand. What was another thing? So along with this board of trade that I think is a bad idea, another thing that they were talking about was that just overall better relationships between the two countries. How's about we just fucking start with that? How's about we just get on the plane and we go and shake hands and we say, Mr. President of China, it's so lovely to see you. Let's be friends. Let's just start there. Let's just be fucking friends. What are we gonna talk about? We just want a better relationship with you. That's it. You know, you're not exactly our neighbor. You're not even in the same neighborhood. But let's be friends, because we can. You know, there's no need for any of this shit. And so I think that would have been a good place to start, but that was actually like way down on the list of stuff that they talked about. A lot of these elite people just, icky. And to the whole better relationships between the two countries, then we got the whole thing with Taiwan. Now, China is a non-aggressor nation. They don't go in and invade people. I don't think they ever have. They've got a gigantic fucking wall across a gigantic chunk of their border to keep invaders out. China's been a country for 7,000 years? Something like that? Like, they don't go around the globe gallivanting fucking with shit. The whole thing with Taiwan revolves around the next couple of points, but Xi Jinping said, reportedly, Xi Jinping said that he basically, on Taiwan, to Donald Trump on Taiwan, don't touch. And change your fucking rhetoric back at home about Taiwan. Stop threatening, stop telling your people that we are constantly threatening to militarily invade an island that they themselves already consider part of them. Like, just because there's a different elected government doesn't mean that China has a different name for Taiwan. I literally just throwing that out right now. I fucking knew it 5 minutes ago and I don't remember. Taipei? No, something else. Anyway, so the whole rhetoric about, oh, China this, China that, you know, like, oh, Russia invaded Ukraine. Well, that's literally just so war hawks in the United States can make $1 billion off of a few 100,000 people dying. Like, that's what that's about. And like, what was the whole thing pushing towards that? When you look at the Russia-Ukraine thing, you have to go all the way back to Clinton, H.W. Bush. You got to go all the way back there. Okay? You could even make an argument to look at what U.S. political powers were doing in regards to the USSR. There were moves to dick with Ukraine in the 80s. There were moves to dick with Russia using that Ukraine area in the 80s. And now what you're seeing is just 40 years later, what that rolls out to be. And the United States of America fucking started it. So when you hear Joy Behar or what's that idiot gay dude? What's his name? He went into the church, got in trouble. The FBI arrested him, shook him down a little bit, let him go. Y'all know who I'm talking about. That's how relevant, that's how intelligent that fucking guy. He's such a dipshit. Yeah, gay black dude, the reporter guy, whoever the fuck that guy is. Anyway, you know, if you were to ask him, he thinks, oh, Russia just invaded a sovereign nation. That's all. Starts and ends there. No, you fucking clown. Educate yourself. Maybe if you were a lot more busy educating yourself than just being gay, you know what I mean? Like, maybe you'd be more interesting to people. But you're not. So, where the fuck was I going with that? So Xi said, stop the rhetoric. in the United States about us militarily jumping into Taiwan and taking it over. Basically, is what he said. Because, you know, before anything happened, before Putin went into the Donbass, Crimea area again to protect his people from U.S.-led aggressions coming out of Kyiv, that is what happened, folks. We were on the news. I was in the airport. I was in, like, where the fuck was I? Houston or Dallas? And I was sitting at this barbecue spot at this airport talking to this Texan couple. And at the time, I was just like, God, I just don't see Vladimir Putin just going and invading Ukraine. I just don't see that. You know, and this older couple were, you know, I laid out my argument, you know. And in the end, yes, he did go in, he did invade, but it was very provoked. It was absolutely provoked. I mean, I'm sorry, but it just fucking was. And so, for me to sit there in my argument to say, no, Putin's a patriot, he loves his country, you know, I don't see, you know, I don't see him invading a place where there's people that think that they are a part of his country. Like, I don't see him doing that. But before he did, the point is, before he did, the only thing you heard on the legacy media was that Russia had troops on the border. You didn't hear why. You just heard that. And so my overall point is he wouldn't just do it for shits and giggles, I guess was my overall point. And it's the same thing with China and Taiwan. All you're hearing is that. And I mean that as like the big picture, that. All you're hearing is that China wants to invade Taiwan. That's all you're hearing. And so now you've got an opinion about it, and you think that that's going to happen, and that drums up a bunch of support amongst people that don't go and figure shit out better for themselves. And then the next thing you know, the U.S. does something that they won't tell you that they did, and then that will provoke a response from China to enter into Taiwan militarily, and then, oh my goodness, look at that, China just invaded Taiwan. But none of that's actually happening, so stop listening to it, and good on President Xi for saying, stop talking that shit. I love it. Why? Because if you want to have trade relations with us, we got to talk AI. We got to talk tech. AI, nuclear, and tech, along with rare earth and minerals, fentanyl. I'll wrap this fentanyl thing up real damn quick right here. Folks, we need fentanyl. They use it in hospitals. What you don't want is an unregulated fucking mess of cut drugs cut with a very powerful sedative that is used every day, all day in the ICU, in hospitals, surgeries. You need it, like we need it, and so it's for the uber Christian conservative. I can't have any fentanyl. No fentanyl. Fentanyl's evil. Fentanyl's the devil. Well, no, guy. Like, no. You don't want your kids getting their hands on fentanyl, but you need fucking fentanyl. And so no fentanyl at all. Well, it's already here. It's everywhere. In every goddamn hospital, probably clinic, in the whole country, they've got fentanyl. And so it's not that they want to stop the flow of fentanyl, they want to stop the flow of illegal or unregulated fentanyl that Mexicans in the north and Canadians in the south of Canada cut and then funnel, meth and coke and shit cut with fentanyl into the United States of America. So that's it. So AI, nuclear, tech, rare earths. So rare earths, you need rare earth minerals for all tech. Why do we need nuclear? Because these AI models are already so goddamn big and powerful that they're like Facebook is talking about having a like a nuclear plant just for running their AI. Google, Facebook, of course, Anthropic, they're all going to do it. They're all going to do it. And so, here's another thing, folks. Any of you, educate yourselves yet again. Nuclear energy is the cleanest, most reliable form of energy on the planet. Hence why Iran has got their panties in a twist about this whole nuclear thing, because at first it was no bomb. But you can't, and this is where I agree with the Dave Smiths and the Jimmy Dores and the Scott Hortons, and I agree with this. You can't tell a nation that they cannot have a nuclear program for cheaper, cleaner energy for their people. You can't do that. There has to be, by choking Iran in that way, you're literally putting your thumb on the scale and keeping them back exponentially as the rest of the world moves forward. It's what you're doing, because if they can't provide the same kinds of energy, resources, promises, etc. to their people, but then the rest of the world gets to, like, that's fucked up. You know, mathematics and medical and shit like that came out of that part of the world. Like, those people need to be able to advance in that way with us. We have a problem with the radical regime, but they need to be able to develop their own nuclear enrichment so that they can have clean energy over there. So nuclear is when you're seeing steam, when you're seeing that shit come out of the top of those stacks on these nuclear facilities, that's just water vapor. That's not anything crazy. It's just water vapor. You could suspend yourself up there. It might get a little hot and wet, but you could suspend yourself up there fucking until you drown. You would not catch radiation poisoning from that steam coming up, because all that hot nuclear core is doing is just literally boiling water to create steam so that it goes up through a turbine. That turbine gets spun and then it escapes through, that steam goes up through that stack, and at the very bottom of that stack in the ground is a giant fucking turbine that's being spun by the air pressure of the steam moving up, and then that that turbine spinning has its generator, and that's what creates the power. And all electricity, you're spinning a turbine. Windmills, the wind blows, the thing spins, the turbine spins, it's creating electricity, gets put out in the grid. Geothermal, you're taking super duper crazy hot fucking water from the ground, you're running it through a passage where it's wrapped in like a refrigerant line. That refrigerant line is super cold, it ices up, the hot water comes through, melts that ice, boils the water, turns it into steam, throws it up through this cool rail where there's a bunch of much smaller turbines than like a nuclear plant, and then that steam goes up, turns these little turbines, boom, pumps energy out onto the grid. Same thing with hydroelectric. You're just using water to flow right through. It's like all electricity is made the same, minus solar. So yeah, just folks, look up, just do me a favor, look up what color a hot nuclear core is. Look up what color a hot nuclear core is, and look up how many like linear feet of water can a photon go through? Look that up. So anyway, that's basically what they talked about. And AI, they're not gonna, they came with these CEOs, and Nvidia was saying that, oh, well, China will sell you chips, but Xi is not an idiot, man. Like China and Xi, said, well, I'm not gonna buy your fucking 6-month-old chips because they're 6 months old, and that'll keep us behind the times. We are just going to keep manufacturing our own chips. So I think I even saw something about potentially opening up the U.S. market to Chinese cars. That'd be kind of interesting. That'd be cool. I live in a place where there's a bunch of Chinese cars: Chery, Cupra, JAC, JMC. We got a few. We got a few, and they're all fucking fine. They're cool cars. They're nice cars. But anyway, so yeah, AI, nuclear, you need them all. Rare earths for tech for nuclear for AI powering. You need that. So, I mean, just remember the that damn thing that's going on in Utah that everybody's mad about. Data center. Like it's going to be a over 60 square mile data center. How the fuck you gonna power that? Nuclear. Anyway, so that's what they talked about, you guys. We got we got nothing in writing. Oh God, it was just a fancy dinner. And Trump's such a dork. He goes in there, says, Chinese food's amazing. We Americans, we love your Chinese food. Chinese food's great. But I'll end this one with this little ditty here. So I learned yesterday about, and I'm going to condemn Fox on this one. I fucking think it was fucking Jesse Waters that reported on it. Guy drives me nuts. Fight breaks out between Secret Service and Chinese authorities. Man, that's the fucking problem with our news in America. There was no goddamn fight. There was no fight. The Secret Service agent was on duty, and he said, no, I am not surrendering my firearm. I'm supposed to protect the President of the United States. There was communicating that happened. The Secret Service agent walked through the door. End of story. End of story. By just like, holy shit, China's trying to strong arm our secrets. No, they fucking don't. They got their own fucking protocols. No guns in the room. That's it. Let's talk it out. Let's figure it out. Because I'm going in this room and I'm taking my fucking gun. And I'm not going to shoot any of you unless you try to fuck with this guy. But I got to be next to him. And I'm not letting you have this. That's all that happened. And then the man walked through the door after whatever they talked about. So that's where I'm like really shitty about our news. That's why I can't, like, I watch it so that I can kind of like sniff around, like, well, what's going on over here? What's going on over there? What's News Nation saying about this? What's CNN saying about this? And then I'll dive into some of my trusted sources with my LLM and jump onto a couple social media things, a couple questions I'll ask a few browsers about the whole thing. And that's how I found out about this, right? And that's why I have such a fucking problem with Fox News, where it's like, hey, yo, Don't get Americans riled. It's just like the thing with Taiwan. Hey, President Trump, tell your fucking media to stop, like, threatening that we are going to do something that we do not plan to do. Stop doing that. Stop doing it. Hey, Fox, stop being so fucking salacious on your reporting. It was a non-issue. But literally because of the way that you come out on TV, you have influence over people. A lot of those people aren't too bright. And then they go and they say, oh, those fucking Chinese, they tried to fight our Secret Service. And God bless Donald Trump. It's not how it fucking happened, folks. Uniquely Unqualified Podcast. This has been episode 18 on this wonderful Friday afternoon. And I think I want to go outside maybe and get in the swimming pool. Who knows what we do. But don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate it very much. Again, to the last one, I saw a number tick up. Awesome human. I appreciate you. Tell your friends. I guess that's all I have to say. Until then, I hope something crazy happens this weekend so I got something to bitch to you about on Monday. You guys have a great weekend. Adios.